Hannah wasn't any regular old passenger, though, as she was on an exclusive VIP ticket, which came with all the luxury and perks you'd expect. She knew that she didn't have to spend any cash on board, and exclusive access was offered to everything that was on the ship. One of those perks was going to be a brief tour of the ship by the captain, which was going to be conducted shortly after they set sail. Hannah was excited about it and settled into her room before she was to head back out again. She was in awe at the size of her room and was loving her new surroundings, having never been on a ship of such size before. She got changed in a simple but stylish red dress, which was practical, but still had a bit of sexy about it. Hannah walked over to the meeting point of the tour and immediately felt out of place, but she knew that this was going to happen. There were 5 couples that stood there, and she was the only one of them that was on her own. She felt like turning back and just heading to her room, but she resisted the temptation. She was glad that she stayed as soon as she saw the captain standing there, as he was a lot more youthful than she imagined. She hadn't thought about it much, but imagined the old type of white-bearded captain as you see in the film Titanic or something. In one part, she was pleased about his youth, as he was good on the eye, but on the other hand, she was worried about the amount of experience that he had. She reckoned that he was still a few years away from his 40s and was dressed in the usual white uniform. There was no gray hair to be found here, and instead there was just a handsome brown-haired man who hopefully knew how to steer a ship. "Are there any questions before we begin?" he asked. Hannah could immediately tell that he was British from his accent. She had a question on her lips that was far too tempting to ask. "How much experience do you have?" she said, immediately regretting the question. The captain scoffed at the question. "I get that a lot," he laughed. "Maybe I should dye my hair gray," he said, as the rest of the group laughed. Hannah felt foolish, but the captain answered her question. "I've been sailing various ships for the last 20 years of my life, and I've been a cruise ship captain for the last 2, so there is no need to worry," he said, opening his palm and inviting her to give her name. "It's Hannah. Sorry about the question," she said sheepishly. "Well, you can all call me Andrew, and don't worry, Hannah. If I were on a plane with a young pilot, I'd be worried about his experience too. But you're in very good hands," he said, smiling at her. She smiled back, and his response made her feel less stupid. He gave a brief tour of the main body of the ship, but he would have been far too busy to give a full tour of the huge vessel. As they were walking, though, the captain went to join Hannah, who was the only one walking by herself. "Do you often sail alone?" he asked, being as curious as she was about his experience. "Well, this is the first time I've ever been on a cruise, but I was meant to come with my husband, but we're separated," she said solemnly. "Does your partner sail with you?" she asked, not wanting to talk about her own situation. "She probably would if I had one," he joked. "It's hard to find someone when you're doing this type of work, being away for so long." "I see," she said. "Sorry again for asking about your experience, but you look very young," she said honestly. "I look forward to the day when I'm old and gray then," he joked. "Oh, I don't. I wasn't expecting to have such a handsome captain," she said, smiling, trying to remember what it was like to flirt with another man. "Well, I'm usually parading around elderly couples, so it's a nice change to see such a beautiful woman on board," he replied, as Hannah swooned. It wasn't just the looks and the uniform he had, but the charm too, a deadly combination. As they neared the next point of interest, the captain opened up the conversation to the whole group, as he took on a much more formal tone. They ended up at the bridge of the ship, with the captain explaining how everything worked and what it was all for. Hannah looked out of the window at the open water, looking forward to it carrying her as far from home as possible. That was when the tour would end for them, as the captain said they'd have to get back to work soon, and mentioned how he looked forward to seeing them all at the captain's dinner, which was due to be taking place the next day. The concierge was waiting to take all of the passengers down to their own rooms. "I'll take Hannah down to her room. It's on my way," said the smiling captain to the concierge. He nodded and left the bridge with the autopilot. "Wow, this is taking VIP to another level," she said to him.